So I've been in technology and cybersecurity or information security when I started, and been a CISO for 3 different companies. I came up from a technical background.
So how does this framework help? Because traditionally it's a low, medium, and high, right?
Yeah. Right. Which you can never do ROI with red, yellow, green. There's literally no way you can do an ROI statement. This is high risk. They're going to say, you guys are always saying everything's freaking high risk.
Hello everyone, thanks for joining in another vlog style podcast right from here, San Francisco. I'm here at the RSAC conference. I'm a member for the FAIR Institute. Here I just happened to meet the only founder of FAIR Institute, Jack Jones, who needs no introduction. So before any further ado, I'll have Jack Jones tell us a little bit about more yourself.
Sure.
And then tell us our audience about the FAIR Institute.
Oh, yeah. So I've been in technology and cybersecurity or information security when I started since the 80s, and been a CISO for 3 different companies. I spent some time working in intelligence community. I came up from a technical background, did a lot of attack and penetration work and those sorts of things. But my first job as a CISO is where I experienced some challenges because I couldn't speak to the business in terms that they understood and cared about.
Right.
And so that drove me to develop this thing called FAIR, or Factor Analysis of Information Risk, which is simply a model for analyzing risk, for measuring risk in cybersecurity or any other risk domain. And we started the FAIR Institute in 2016 as a community-focused organization to help improve our profession's ability to understand, measure, and manage risk,
right,
especially quantitatively. It doesn't have to be quantitative, but there are a ton of advantages for quantitative risk because you can do things like measure ROI of major investments and those sorts of things, right?
Right. So yeah, as you just mentioned, right, measure ROIs and investment, and it's a tough decision for security leadership to make a decision on that.
Yeah.
So how does this framework help? Because traditionally it's a low, medium, and high, right?
Yeah.
So how does this thing is going to help and help the leadership make better decisions?
Well, it allows us to measure risk quantitatively. So instead of low, medium, or high, we can say, well, this loss event scenario represents between $1.5 and $2 million of annualized loss.
Okay.
But if we implement this new technology, maybe that gets cut in half or by 2/3 or something like that. So we get this ROI picture, right? Which you can never do ROI with red, yellow, green. There's literally no way you can do an ROI statement.
Right.
And so, we are stewards of the limited resources we're given, right? And we have an obligation to apply those resources as cost effectively as possible.
Yes.
And you cannot do that with qualitative measurement.
Yeah. So let's, for our audience to understand better, if you talk about a use case, right?
Yeah.
So can you share what can be a possible use case and how this model fits into that?
Sure. So for example, I was a CISO for a large bank for a while, and when I walked in the door and took the position, discovered that we had really poor intrusion detection.
Okay.
We'd only find an attacker if we tripped over him. It was like no way we'd know they were there.
Okay.
But implementing good intrusion detection is not cheap.
Yes.
And this was not at the budget cycle time of year. This was the middle of the year, and that is not when you go to ask for big buckets of money, right? But I felt this was important enough that I should try to get money for it now and not wait. So I did an analysis. I said, here's how much risk we have without intrusion detection, right?
Okay.
Here are the scenarios where it's relevant. Here are the implications from a loss exposure perspective. And I said, now if we spend this amount of money on this kind of technology and the processes that surround it, we can drive that risk way down. And here's how much less risk we will have if we implement this. I put that analysis before the CEO and the executive team, and it was the easiest money I ever got.
Oh wow, really? You always
Yeah.
get a pushback?
Yeah, now they were like, of course we need to do this.
So basically, this helped kind of translate that technical risk into a business risk.
If I'd gone to them and said, this is high risk, they're going to say, you guys are always saying everything's freaking high risk.
Yeah, but what's the impact, right?
Right? But, you know, they operate it in dollars and cents.
Right, exactly.
In economic terms. And when you can express our concerns in economic terms,
Right.
they no longer have to interpret it, and they no longer get to interpret it.
Yeah, because
Right.
you speak in their language.
Speaking their language, and what I've found is that executives tend to be far more risk averse when you put it, you know, in front of in economic terms.
Right.
Because when you say it's high risk or something like that, they're like,
Yeah, well, what does it
everything's
mean
high.
to them?
Yeah. What do you mean high risk? And you guys are always saying everything's high risk and blah blah blah. And
Right.
but when you put it in economic terms, they're going like, okay, that's a lot of money.
And that is going to solve the business problem and reduce the risk for the enterprise.
Exactly.
So not to have any oops moments. So proactively,
Yeah.
you are spending your dollar amount.
Right.
Right. So people can just, how do they join? Like they go to fairinstitute.org.
Yeah, fairinstitute.org. It's free to join.
Free to join. And you have a lot of chapters, right?
We have 24 chapters around the world.
16,000+ members, I believe.
Yeah, 16,000 members globally.
And it's growing, right? So again, those who are into this space, and again, I would say if you're struggling to get budgets, so better speak to the number language, and this is where this model can be helpful. And then do check out our website. So again, Jack, really appreciate it. Thanks for
you.
your time, and we'll see you
Appreciate it.
again. Thank you.